Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we have a really big rumor to discuss. It's a rumor coming from a prominent, known industry insider and/or leaker, Nate the Hate. And he is saying that he has heard that the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal is going to be this week. And with it, some other details on how the reveal will take place, what will come afterwards, and a few additional games that are on their way for the console. And what's extra interesting about this is that this lines up with chatter that we have been hearing over the last few weeks from other places as well, so perhaps there's even more reason to believe that this is indeed happening. And that's pretty exciting. But before going forward, let me take this moment to ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit that notification bell, and if you're unsure, watch through this video and then decide. So today's video is probably going to be coming out earlier than usual. It might even be more of a bonus video. It looks like there may be a bit of an acceleration of plans here. I actually have a Zelda video that I've been working on that may be dropping a little bit later today. We'll see how things pan out exactly. But this is the big story for the day. The Switch 2, according to Nate the Hate from his recent podcast that he uploaded earlier today, will have its reveal on the exact same day that Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is coming out, January 16th. And for that reason, some people are likely going to be doubtful that this rumor is true. But when it comes to specific dates and Nate the Hate, he's usually right. And Nate the Hate isn't the only person who's been suggesting a reveal this week. Just a few moments ago, Pioro, who now has a different profile picture and is calling himself not a leaker, is suggesting that Nate the Hate is accurate. Last week we talked about, from a few different places, that something may be happening this week. Nintendo has been teasing something this week, and even Genki, who we've talked about having issues with Nintendo's legal team, has suggested a reveal will be happening in a few days ago. So we're already in this new week. If what they were saying is legitimate, then it would likely be this week. Not to mention, there was word that they had found their console from the black market, and now we have a second source suggesting that the Switch 2 is out in the black market, further supporting different things said by Genki. Not to mention, we also have the reports that, yes, Nintendo lawyers were at the booth at CES to confront Genki, suggesting that their leaks were legitimate. And so while it may seem hard to believe that the Switch 2 reveal will be on a Thursday, the same day as Donkey Kong's release, there might be something about this that will help it to make a bit more sense. Because apparently, this Switch 2 reveal is going to be hardware focused. And so there's the possibility that we may not see any games during this reveal. And if that happens, then I can more easily see how it wouldn't take too much away from Donkey Kong's release this Thursday. But if we get this Switch 2 reveal and there's no actual games at all, like it's just a blank screen or a plain logo they show throughout this trailer, I would say that would be pretty disappointing. And I think that would maybe even have an impact on the initial hype and excitement for this console. And to be fair, Nate the Hate does characterize his information as maybe incomplete because he's also a little skeptical that Nintendo would put out a reveal trailer without any games at all. Now, it could just be an issue of what's being represented here, because technically, the Switch 1 reveal trailer was also a hardware-focused trailer. There were no actual game announcements in the reveal trailer for Switch 1 back on October 20th of 2016. But there were 6 games that were shown in the trailer that were later confirmed. Breath of the Wild is a launch title, Splatoon 2, NBA 2K, Skyrim, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Super Mario Odyssey. Those 6 games were in the trailer, and at the time, when it came out, there was a lot of speculation and debate if they were real games or just proof of concepts. But they were all real games that were coming to the console, they just weren't specifically announced, there wasn't anything said about them. It was just footage that was on the screen for the Switch 1 added in post to showcase the system in different scenarios. And so I think there's a possibility that maybe the reason we're hearing about this in this way is that it's a very similar situation where there is a trailer that's focusing on just the hardware, and there isn't any showcase of games because that something's being added in post, and we may still see footage of these games. I really do think this is what makes the most sense, because if they're going to show off the hardware, the features of the console, for example, maybe that mouse feature for the Joy-Cons we've been talking about, not having something on screen to reflect the functionality would just be weird. It wouldn't really be a great way to sell the console. Now, it does depend on how all this is done. Maybe they're not even showing off the features of the console. Maybe it's more of a simpler approach here. And that also might be a bit disappointing because we've already pretty much gotten the entire console leaked. So if they're not showing off the software in any way for this initial reveal, then I think that would be underwhelming. And when we take a look at all the different trailers for the Nintendo Switch and its family of systems, the OLED and the Lite, all of them have games in the trailer. You can probably still characterize them as hardware-focused trailers or commercials, but there's still games in the background. You still see the functionality of the console taking advantage of different games that are being played. So I really feel like there's gotta be some sort of software shown in this reveal trailer, even if it is a hardware-focused trailer. Now, I will also say that looking at how Sony and Microsoft have treated initial console reveals, they don't show that much. It's mostly just random visuals, and then, hey, the console exists, and maybe just how the console looks with a release timing and perhaps a name. And so maybe that's what Nintendo's doing. It would be simpler, it would tell us some things, but it would pretty much be things that we're all expecting at this point. Regardless of how exactly the trailer is handled, though, Nate the Hate did also talk about a big software presentation happening a little bit afterwards, late February, maybe early March. And I find this part interesting because there was some chatter to suggest that maybe we might have to wait until later February for the Switch to reveal. Maybe this is why, because there's always intended to be two different presentations. The second presentation being something very similar to the Switch 1 presentation in January 2017, where they showed off all the games for the launch and the big ones coming throughout the year, along with all the other pieces of information that were left out from the initial reveal. And so what we could be looking at here may be a very similar approach to Switch 1, which is also why I still kind of doubt that they would just only show hardware in the initial reveal. If the idea is to emulate the success of the Switch 1, then you should probably emulate the entire process, including one of the most important parts, the initial reveal, that first look, and have some games in that trailer. I'm not saying name the games, title the games, give us release dates, but show the footage. Let us speculate, let us have those discussions, because otherwise, that reveal may not have as much pop as you're hoping. But regardless, if we're getting this big software presentation towards the end of February or March, then by that point we'll know everything we've been wanting to know all this time, which is still not that far off from now. And if we have a harder focused trailer to pay attention to in the meanwhile, then I think we'll be okay. And yes, all this would imply that the release of the console is not that far off. It would be coming out in the May or June period. This is suggested by Nate the Hate. This is a release timing we've been talking about for a little while already. And so this falls within expectation, provided there are no more delays. But I think if we are actually getting the reveal this week, we are now past that stage for a potential delay. Something else I think is worth mentioning here is that Nate the Hate did also say that Metal Gear Solid Delta may be coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and this one he wasn't as confident about because it doesn't have as much sourcing on it, but apparently Elden Ring, a complete edition with the DLC, is also on the way, which, by the way, has been rumored from a few different places already. And it's something that I've personally been predicting for a while, Elden Ring to come to Nintendo Switch 2. And so this is the initial story. We'll see what actually happens. I would assume that if this is all true, we are going to see an official announcement about this from Nintendo on Wednesday, January 15th. So fingers crossed, the wait is finally over, and also fingers crossed that this hardware-focused trailer has some games in it, but even if it doesn't, it looks like we'll still get to see these games in less than 2 months anyways. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.